Hello again, welcome back. This is part 2 of, I was going to say this week's podcast, but it's every 2 weeks that I record. Still, I suppose this is this week's podcast. If you've watched part 1, you'll already know this, but my name is Jenny. I am a crocheter based in North Yorkshire, and this is where I show you what I'm making and what I'm planning to make going forward, and talk about various other bits and bobs that are going on in my life. At time of recording, it is Friday. I think it's the 27th of September. It's nearly 11 o'clock in the morning, and I've already lost what I'm going to say. My head's all over the place today, so I'm particularly scatterbrained. In part 1, I talked about my finished objects, of which I actually had quite a few this time, unlike the last time, and I did a very quick on my radar section about the Yarndale Yarn Show, which may already be over by the time you're seeing this. I am planning to do a separate video to show off anything that I have purchased, will have purchased, while I'm there. So this is part 2 of the podcast, and I'm going to talk about my works in progress and the to-do review and a little bit of chatter. I don't think I was going to say anything else right at the moment, so I shall press on. So, first work in progress that I'm going to show you today is the oblique shawl crochet along that my submission for, that is being run by Vicky Brown of Vicky Brown Designs. I have, as was almost inevitable, I have fallen behind. I have finished up to the end of part 3. Part 5, which is the last part, has now been released as of yesterday. So I am 2 parts behind. I knew it would happen at some point. I've had a lot on. I did pretty well, I think, to keep going, to keep up with it for as long as I did. So there's no spoilers here. Obviously, if you haven't done part 3 yet and you don't want to see, then skip ahead a few minutes. But hopefully you'll have already seen this section. I've found part 3 really, really hard. Really, really hard, and I don't think I've done it right. And I'm not really happy with how it looks, so I'll have to try that again at some point. Part 3 was a version of a mosaic crochet. I think it's called inset mosaic, where you leave chain spaces and then you crochet over the chain spaces into the row below. I get the concept. I just don't think I've followed the instructions very well. I should have looked at the video tutorial that Vicky made, and I didn't. So at some point I'll have another go. But most importantly, my stitch count on this final row is right. So I can carry on with the next part and it'll be fine. As I said, I think last time anyway, I will probably end up frogging this. I have explained why last time, I'm using cotton instead of the wool that Vicky recommended. And it's just not, the shape's not working out very well. It's very pointy, and I prefer a wider shawl rather than a pointy one. And a good blocking might sort it, but I'm not really happy with how it's looking, so I think I will end up frogging it at the end. And that's fine. This, for me, taking part in this crochet along, I'm not doing it in order to have something usable at the end necessarily. I'm doing it because it's fun and I'm enjoying it. I have sort of learnt a new technique maybe, and it's just a little something to do. So I will get to part 4 and part 5 and we'll see what I think at the end. I suspect I'll end up frogging it, and either the yarn that I've used this time will get reused for something else. I do have ideas for a new version of the shawl with different yarn that again I talked about in my last episode. I'm thinking it'd look really, really good if you had, so it's designed for a base colour and 2 contrast colours. I think it'd look really, really good with a base colour and then a bunch of contrast colours, like it'd be great for using up minis, or I think it'd look brilliant if you had a gradient yarn that you did the contrast sections in, so they gradually changed as you went up, or even a contrast yarn for the main colour, and not a contrast, a gradient yarn for the main colour, and then a solid colour for the contrast sections, either way around. I think that would look really good. So I probably will make it again in the future, and even if I don't make it as it is, each section that Vicky has designed would work really well on its own, or you could pick 2 or 3 of them to use together without the others, and it would also be very easy to use them to, instead of making a triangle shawl like the pattern is designed as, you could easily make a scarf or a rectangular wrap or a cushion cover or a blanket, or any of that kind of thing. So it's really it's inspiring me a lot. I've got a lot of thoughts going on in my head about what I can do with this going forward. It's definitely been worthwhile and it's enjoyable. Excuse me a sec. I've been ill this week and my throat is still it's a bit croaky. In fact, slurp of tea. It's my special podcast tea. It's got honey in it. It just eases things a bit. I believe you can still buy the pattern via Vicky's website, which will be linked in the description. And you can possibly still get yarn kits for it as well, but if not, she's got lots of wonderful yarn that you could make up your own kit with, or you could use your stash yarn or buy yarn from somewhere else. It's entirely up to you. But it's definitely worth checking out if you are in the market for a new shawl pattern or just a bit of fun. Right, whip number 2. I'm just going to whiz through this one because there's not a huge amount to show you or tell you. This is the blanket that I'm making for my brother. Josh, if you're watching, go away. Come back in a bit. I haven't made a lot of progress, but I have made a little bit, so I thought I'd just show you. I've added a few more rows since last time. I'm still well behind, but I'm still hoping to get it finished by the end of October. I've got other presents for my other siblings that I'd also like to get finished by then, which will be much smaller. No less important and no less special, but much smaller. And then hopefully I can do a big present dump, I suppose. That's not a very nice way of putting it, but you know what I mean. Give everybody their presents all together. Or, at the rate I'm going, I might save them all up for Christmas. We shall see. I don't get to see any of them nearly often enough, so I will get their presents to them when I can. This is getting there. I am making progress. I'm enjoying it more actually now than I was initially. It's going really well. It's coming together nicely now that I'm starting to see the picture that it's forming. I can see where I am in the picture now. Whereas when I first started, the first few rows were just like, this is just a mess of weird colours. But it is starting to look like the photograph, a stylised version of. So that's nice. And yeah, I'll get it done as soon as I can. This is all using Stitchcraft Special DK yarn in various colours. I can't remember if I've put all the information into the project page, if I've even done a project page for it yet. If I have, it will be linked below, and at some point I will add all the information in. But there's no pattern for it anyway. This is one that I've made up myself from a photograph using Stitch Fiddle, which again I will link for you actually. It's a really useful tool if you've got a picture, any picture at all, you can turn it into a crochet pattern or a knitting pattern or possibly a cross stitch pattern. I think you can do any of those. There may even be other methods, I can't remember. It's a great tool anyway. So yeah, if you've got something special that you want to make, it's really, really handy for that. So yes, a tiny bit of progress on that. Hopefully next time there will be much more, but I have got a busy couple of weeks coming up, so no promises. Talking of presents, my sisters, who are twins, have just had their birthday as well. I say just, about 2 weeks ago. And I've finally started making a present for one of them. I will be making a present for the other. So my sisters, who are twins, are called Charlotte and Harriet. Charlotte's present is underway. Harriet, I am working, I've got an idea for yours and I will make you one too. But Charlotte's is easy because she put a request in a while ago for some socks. She wants little, cosy, shorty socks, preferably with ruffles on, I believe. So I've decided, I had a look for patterns for exactly what she wants, and there were a bunch out there, but I wasn't really happy with any of them. Wasn't sure I'd be able to get them to definitely fit. So I have gone back to an old favourite. I'm using the Watson Waffle socks pattern. Again, there will be a project page. It's a pattern I've used loads of times before, so you'll probably be quite familiar with it by now if you've been here for any length of time. It will be linked from the project page. Obviously I haven't done the full sock yet. This is the first of the two, and the main foot part is done, and I've still got the heel and a little bit of leg and the ruffle to do. And the second sock, because I am working concurrently, so that I don't end up with second sock syndrome, is catching up. I'm about 2/3 of the way through the foot part. I am really, really loving how this yarn is working up instantly. Let me find what it's called. So the toe is one of Vicky Brown's yarns from the Mini Skein Club, so the toe colour. I don't know if it's got a name for that colourway. I don't know if she still sells it, but it was part of the Mini Skein Club. That was March 2023. If you happened to have that month, then you'll have that in your stash somewhere if you haven't used it already. The yarn for the main body of the sock is, I did write it down, from Yorkshire Dales yarn, and the colourway is called Enchanted Garden. I don't know if they're still dyeing. I got this, Sam from Chaos and Kismet was having a de-stash a little while ago, and I swooped in. I went, oh, show me what you've got before you put it up anywhere and I'll buy some. I think she said they're not dyeing anymore, but I could be wrong. By all means, look them up. But yeah, I love how the variegation's working. I know a lot of people aren't keen on accidental colour pooling with yarn. I love it. I think it's fascinating, especially when I'm doing something like this. Just try not to get tangled. Where I'm making two things that are the same and go together. And they clearly go together, you know, they're the same colour, clearly going to be a pair, but they look different. It's really cool. This one's got quite a distinct stripe, vertical stripe up the front, and then another one at the back, actually. And then this one's a bit more chaotic. There is still, there's a bit of a stripe going there. Oh, there we go. But it's not as defined. And then the back is a much more speckly. I just think it's really fun. So not for everyone, and I completely understand. I am getting tangled now. I completely understand if you're not a fan of colour pooling, accidental colour pooling. Planned pooling is a whole different kettle of fish, which I have not explored. I'm not sure I will. Seems overly complicated to me. Although people do wonderful things with it. I find the accidental colour pooling that you get with variegated yarns is just... I find it fascinating to watch it work up and to see what the yarn does as you're working with it. So yes, socks for my sister is a pattern I'm familiar with. I've made 2 pairs for myself. I've made a pair for my mum. Have I made 3 pairs for myself? I might have done. Can't remember. I am intending to make her a second set of socks as well, because 1 pair isn't enough. For which I will use a different pattern, just so she's got 2 different kinds of socks to choose from. Hopefully she will like them. We shall see. Okay, final and I think most exciting work in progress is a witch's hat for Halloween, which I now can't get out. There we go. And the reason this is exciting is because this is for the make-along that I am co-hosting along with Sam from Chaos and Kismet. Again, there is a properly detailed introductory video back in my history somewhere. If I remember, I'll link it in the description for you. But the make-along is running until the end of October, Halloween. It is called the Hallowe'en Hats Make-along, and the aim is to make a hat that is Halloween themed, basically. And we will be giving out prizes. There'll be one from me, one from Sam at the end of the make-along. And you can enter via my Ravelry group or Sam's Discord server, whichever you prefer, or by emailing us. So I really need to keep remembering to actually check in on Ravelry. I've been very slack. I do apologise if you're in my Ravelry group. Thank you very, very much. I really do appreciate it. I do keep meaning to come back and say hello every now and then. I think as of about a week ago I had said hello to everyone who had joined, but if you've joined since then you're still waiting, so I'm sorry, but I will be back. I just keep forgetting. But I have been making my hat and it's all stripy. I need to tell you which one it is, don't I? It is called, I think it's just called the Slouchy Witch's Hat. It will be. My yarn's living inside it at the moment, so it's not slouchy at all, but it will be when it's finished. There's my little book with my notes. Here it is. Yes, the Slouchy Witch Hat by Shelby Daft, I believe, on Ravelry. It's a paid pattern. Again, I don't think it was very much. And you don't have to do it striped, you can do it however you like. I think the pattern is written for a self-striping yarn actually, so it stripes itself, which is handy, but I didn't have one that was the right weight, so I've made up the stripes myself. I'm kind of just winging it. So the yarn I'm using is Stitchcraft Special Chunky, much heavier weight than I would normally use, but it is worked with a relatively small hook, which again I haven't written down, but it's something like a 3.5mm, which is much smaller than you'd normally use with a chunky yarn, unless you are making an amigurumi or a basket or something. Same principle applies when making this. You want it to be you want the fabric to be fairly stiff so that it does hold some shape, because yes, I want a slouchy hat but not a floppy hat. There is an option when I get to the brim to incorporate wire into the brim, which I think I'm going to try and do, because that will keep yarn scathing. That will stop the brim from flopping. And the colours that I'm using, as you can see, are black, white and burgundy. And I'm having a lot of fun. It is a really simple pattern actually. And because it's chunky yarn, and simple, it's working up pretty quickly. I think that was a couple of sessions. I haven't timed it because I don't care for this one. But yeah, it's working up. It's working up nicely. I've not done anything with it for a couple of days because I've been doing other things. But I think I've just got a few more rows of the main hat, but maybe only about that much. And then I think it's onto the brim. So I'm nearly done, really. So I won't try it on yet because it doesn't quite fit. I know it doesn't. I tried it on the other day. Yeah, it's going well. It's going well, and I think it's going to look good. And I don't know whether I will wear it on Halloween, but at least I will have the option if I wanted to. So that's fun. So yes, if you are taking part in the make along, thank you. It's lovely. Again, no, it was part one when I was talking about this. For me, one of the joys of crochet and crafting and having this podcast is the opportunity to build a bit of a community. And you know, there are plenty of other people out there who are doing the same, but to have an extra little space where people can come and chat about the things they're making, the ideas they have, the things they want to make, and anything else, well, anything at all really, but especially anything related to crochet and crafting in general. So yeah, it's just nice to make a bit of a connection with other people, because I don't really know anyone in real life who crochets apart from my friend Fee, who I don't see nearly often enough. That's kind of it. So you lovely people online, you're my crafting community, and it's great to share ideas with you. So let me know, in fact, in the comments if you are joining in with the make along, and I promise I will come back to Ravelry soon and check in and comment on all your posts. I will. Right, that is almost all of my active whips. I was also going to talk about the buttons and stitch markers that I've been making, but I've left them all downstairs and I can't be bothered to go and get them. So even though it's not crochet, it's crochet related, crochet adjacent. So I'm counting those as an active whip as well. And I will show you at some point. I promise I will. So on to the to-do review. So, as I've just talked about, I have 5 active works in progress at the moment. I, in total, have 13 works in progress. So that's, what, 8 that aren't active? That are just floating around in the ether. I've probably got more than that, to be honest, because I don't think I've written all of them down. But hey, the list of things that I'm working on and want to work on is ever changing, ever evolving, usually increasing. And at the moment, the number of planned projects that I have is 15. So even more than the number of whips. I don't know if everyone's like this. I do know. I know that not everyone is like this. Are you like me? Do you have loads of projects on the go and a whole bunch of extra ideas, and you'll work on something and then put it to one side for a while and then come back to it and be working on 4, 5, 6 things all at once? Or are you one of these strange people who can work on one project exclusively until it's finished and then move on to the next one? If you do that, how? Please tell me how. I can't do it. But hey, it's great. Everyone's different, right? But yes, I always have. Ever since I first started crocheting, to be honest, I've always had more than one thing on the go at once. It just suits me. Sometimes I want to sit and mindlessly crochet a blanket that's all one stitch and is going to take forever. Sometimes I want to make a quick little project that I can get done in an evening or a couple of days, and sometimes I want something that is complicated and I can really get my teeth into and focus on. And so having more than one project on the go means that I've got that, you know, I can work on whatever I want, whenever I want, unless I've got a deadline. So I want to tell you about one specific hibernating work in progress. I do need to come back to this one soon because, and I know it's still only September, but I'm going to say it, Christmas is fast approaching. Yay! We are in my favourite time of year at the moment. Well, no, Halloween marks the official start of my favourite time of year, but it's close enough now that I can say it. So this is something that I have shown before. That was really squeaky, sorry. And that has had a couple of incarnations now, which I've talked about previously. I won't go into all the backstory. This is from a Crochet Society box from not last year, the year before. So that's 2022, I believe. And it was the winter box. And the original pattern, let me find the actual pattern, I will show you that much at least, give the designer a bit of a, oh no, was it 2020? No, yes it was 2022, November 2022. That's the front of the mini magazine, it was in the box. It's very pretty. And the pattern is in here somewhere. Should we not be able to find it? There we go. The pattern, original pattern, is by Love Dotty Crochet, who is Kelly, and it was for this bunting, Peace on Earth bunting. And when I first saw it, I was like, okay, that's great. Not really a bunting kind of person. I quite like to look at it on, you know, in other places, but I wouldn't use it myself. So I figured there wasn't much point making bunting. And so I thought, and I tried out one idea which hasn't worked. So I have adapted that idea. I've started again. I'm still technically using Kelly's pattern, but instead of using the standard tapestry crochet method that she uses in the pattern, I have now used this, am now using this as a way to practice Tunisian crochet, which is pretty new to me. And I'm making up all the little squares, as well as having designed some of my own squares, which I'm now working on. And I'm going to join them all together and make a cushion cover for Christmas. I want to have this ready for Christmassy markets. Now, I say squares, they're rectangles really, and they're pretty wonky and need a really, really good blocking. But I'm getting better. Hopefully when I come back to it, I won't have become too rusty, because it's been a little while since I touched this. I just think one of the things that annoys me a little bit about standard tapestry crochet is that the edges of the letters or the image or whatever that you're creating, just the edges aren't very clean. I think they're always a bit choppy looking. Tunisian crochet, even, this is just basic Tunisian, simple Tunisian stitch, I can't remember what it's called, but just, you know, the bog standard. When you first learn Tunisian crochet, this is the stitch you learn. And okay, this is a properly wonky little rectangle, but look how clean the edges on that letter A are. Okay, there is no mistaking that that's a letter A at all. I just think it's so much neater. I'm not going to go through all of them because there's quite a few. That one's quite a good one actually. That's a C. So obviously it spells peace on earth. Let me see if I can find a couple of the ones that I designed. There we go, they're there. So there's all the letters that spell peace on earth that Kelly designed, and then I have designed my own squares as well. I've only worked up a couple of them so far, but I made a little candle. And again, I think if that was in your standard tapestry crochet, you'd be able to tell what it was, but it'd be a bit messy, especially because the design, it's like an outline, so it's only one stitch wide, which doesn't work very well in tapestry crochet, I don't think. I think you need 2 or 3 stitches really to make it obvious, whereas that is really clean and sharp and obvious what it is. So I just need to work up the rest of my images. I think I've got, what else have I done? I've done a candle, and I've done a bauble and a present and a stocking, a tree, I think I've done a candy cane maybe as well. They're not on here, this is just my little list of what I've done. Then the actual designs are on my tablet and a bit of stuff there. So I need to get back to that, finish up the rest of the squares, block them all, and then figure out how I'm going to join them together, how I want that to look. This is all using Crochet Society yarn, by the way, in just everything that came in the box. So it's exclusive to the Crochet Society subscription boxes at the moment. It's their confection DK, and it is lovely. I really wish they would release it actually as a commercially available yarn, because it's so lovely to work with. It's really nice for amigurumi actually, because it's soft and quite plump and squishy, so it fills in all the little gaps really nicely. Was that with this? I don't know. Mystery pouch. I don't know if that was with this box or with the bag I was showing you a minute ago. Oh, I can't remember. I'll figure that out in a minute. Pop that there out of the way. Right, finish this tea because it's going cold, and then I'll carry on. Okay, I'm nearly done. Just a bit of chatter really, and a wrap up for you. I should have written down when I'm next going to be recording, when I'm going to do my next episode, and I haven't done, so bear with me a moment and I'll work that out. In 2 weeks time it will be the 11th of October. Ooh. So that should be when my next episode comes out. By then I will have been to Yarndale, of course, because that's tomorrow. So hopefully I will have put up a separate video showing you anything that I buy while I'm there. I will have also been to and hosted my next craft market. It's on the 5th of October in Harrogate at the Wesley Chapel. 10:30 till 4, I think, we're open. So please do come by if you're in the area and say hello. It's the 3rd one that I've hosted myself, and I'm getting more comfortable with it. It's still stressful and nerve-wracking in the planning stage, and I get very flustered and run around like a headless chicken in the morning while we're setting up, putting everything together. But I've had lovely feedback from the last couple that I did. So, and this one I'm feeling more confident about. I've got a couple of really good changes actually. I've got a lovely lady called Julie, who was a caterer, coming to do a pop-up cafe for me. So hopefully that will pull some extra people in through the door. And I've got myself a music licence as well, so I can play music in the background, which will hopefully just liven up the atmosphere a bit, which will be nice. And I've got a fantastic selection of vendors coming along. We've got candles, and we've got artwork, and there's a couple of other people selling crochet bits and bobs. I'll have a stall there, obviously. What else have we got? Kids' toys, toys and accessories for pets, all kinds of stuff, jewellery. There's what's his name? I've forgotten his name. But there's a gentleman coming along who came to my very first one, who sells wooden signs and candle holders and stuff. His products are beautiful. So yeah, if you are in the area on the 5th of October, please do come. Even if you just pop in and say hello, it'll be lovely to see you. And okay, there's not long to go now. Just over a week, in fact. But I do still have a couple of spaces if you have a local business and you'd like to come along and be a vendor, then let me know. You will be very, very welcome. So that's the main business chat. There's not a huge amount else to say, really. What else is going on in my life? Oh, house stuff. We've had another meeting with our architect. Yeah, we don't know. We have a vague plan. We did have a much more concrete plan. And then we've had the initial quotes back from a couple of builders. It's like, oh my god, that's expensive. So we may still be going ahead with that. We hope we can. But we're just putting a contingency plan in place at the moment in case we can't. The hope is to completely renovate the ground floor of the house, basically to extend the back and have a big open plan kitchen diner instead of the pokey little rooms we've got at the moment, and to convert the double garage that we've got into a livable room as well. So keep your fingers crossed for us that we can get that all to come together. In the meantime, our roof is leaking again. This happened around about this time last year. So, yeah, in fact pretty much almost bang on a year ago. One night Kelvin went to bed and discovered that there was water coming through the ceiling into our bedroom from the roof. We got someone out the next day and they claimed to have fixed it, and it seemed like they had, because we've had almost a year of not having an issue as far as we've known. The other night it started coming through again, and the past couple of days have been very, very rainy here. There's been really heavy rain most of yesterday and the day before, and so that little corner of our bedroom is very soggy at the moment. Luckily there are no plug sockets or anything in that particular corner, thank goodness. I did have some old clothes sat in a box there which are probably ruined, but they might not be. It is only water. I need to check them. We need to get it fixed. So Kelvin's just managed to get hold of someone today who hopefully will come out on Monday and have a look. I'm just hoping there's not too much more rain over the weekend. So we'll see what happens with that. Other news, my sinuses. I had my follow-up from my surgery. My surgery did go really well. I no longer have a deviated septum, so I am breathing a little more easily, I suppose, through my nose than I used to. However, and I wish this had been explained to me properly before the surgery, because honestly I probably wouldn't have gone ahead with it if I had known this in full. The main problem I have is that I've got chronic rhinitis, which is like an inflammation of the sinuses and the tissue within. And that's what's causing the feelings of congestion and the postnasal drip and all of the horribleness that I put up with on a daily basis. And that's not going to go away. There is no cure. So I've got another steroid nasal spray, and it's use it for a couple of months. Hopefully things will get better. Stop using it when it gets worse again, because it will. Use the spray again. So that's not great news. I suppose at least it's nothing more serious than that. I'm trying to look on the bright side. But it's just yet another condition that I'm just going to have to keep putting up with forever, probably. as if I don't have enough already. But hey, let's not end on a down note. Let's try and get a bit of positivity back in before I finish. That is all the main news, I think. One of Ned's friends is coming around after school today, which should be nice. Positive things. The weather is in my favour. It's going to be bright over the weekend, I think, but autumn winter brightness is always easier than spring summer brightness for me to cope with. If you don't know, I am partially sighted and I really struggle with sensitivity to light, so sunshine is not my friend. But yeah, this time of year is easier to deal with. I'm unlikely to get too hot because the weather is much cooler than it has been, so that's all good. Tomorrow should be a really fun day, and I'm going to be busy for the next couple of weeks, sorting the market out and then recovering from the market afterwards. So that's that. I think that's everything that I wanted to tell you. As ever, thank you for being here, especially if you're new, because you found me somehow and I'm so grateful that you have. Thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed to my channel so far. If you are watching this and you haven't, what are you waiting for? It takes you a second to click that button, less than, and it won't cost you a penny. So it would be lovely if you did. Feel free to like and to share, and please do comment. I love getting comments. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed watching. Thank you again, and I'll be back in hopefully just under a couple of weeks. Alright, bye for now.